cold open. What do you think
I'm
I'm
gonna get it? I just started recording.
All right.
You thought he came on for the actual podcast? He came on for the cold open.
It's so 42069 is hilarious.
The best part is we still haven't told him that that's what it is.
I know, it's hysterical.
Yeah.
So he joined me in social now. So once I have to finally tell him that, it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be awkward.
He'll figure it out. When we tell him, what do you think his response will be?
Oh, sweet.
Why?
Why are you the way that you are?
Fantastic.
I think he'll be honored.
I'm looking at. Holy shit, that's so funny. Man, I'm just looking at these responses for the first time.
Yeah,
these
it's gonna be fun to go through them. I'm excited.
Oh man,
there's some funny ones. Like I said,
there's
some recency bias.
Yeah, I was just about to say, holy shit.
Maybe just a tad. Just a tad.
Oh man, that's great. That is hilarious. All right, what are we doing first?
Record a podcast. Kyle, hold on. I'll cut this part out from the cold open. Your mic's sounding all not snowball again.
Oh, please God, no.
Yeah, that sounds like a computer mic if I've ever heard one.
Yep.
Hold on.
Hence the echo chamber.
And
is that better?
That is significantly better. But
so
move away.
Better.
You don't have to swallow it.
This isn't how Matt does it?
I sit like maybe a foot from the mic. I don't know exactly how far. I like to sit nice and close though. My voice is loud enough, but I like to have it really encapsulate. You know, you got to get the feeling. You got to hear my voice like I'm talking right through your ears.
It's intimidating. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, to be honest with you.
I'm right on it, but I'm not using those snowballs like you amateurs.
Yeah, see. You got the whole setup too, Corbo. You really put us to shame with
Look
that
at this. I got this fucking Shure SM7B over here. Oh man, I got to move my phone away from the computer though, because otherwise I'm gonna get crazy feedback.
It's wildly impressive, buddy.
Yeah, I'm a professional.
So Corbo, how have the vacations been? Because I know you've been out and about.
I'm glad they're over.
Was the wedding last weekend?
Yeah, the wedding was last weekend.
How was that?
That shit was fucking, dude. That was crazy. I did a lot of karaoke at the post reception bar.
Oh my god.
I had a 3-song set where I knocked out. I started with "Boys of Summer," but I didn't do the fucking whatever the Eagles guy cover is. Yeah. I did the Atari's version.
Yeah. Why can't I think of his name? Don something.
It's Don Headley.
Don Headley. Yeah, Don Headley. Yeah. Like yeah.
I don't know, like as the dude once said, "Man, I fucking hate the Eagles." That's a Big Lebowski reference. And then I did "Umbrella" by Rihanna.
Oh my god, the best pop song of the 21st century.
Yeah, I did it. My friend who I brought along as my date, we went up there. We just ruined that shit just forever.
Nice.
And then my encore for the night, right as the bar was starting to close down, people were starting to make out with each other and shit. I did. What did I do? Drops of Jupiter, of course.
Oh, great ending song.
Yeah.
By your third song, where they like get this guy off the stage, he sang enough.
Oh yeah, but I just like I think on the I requested my friend's name for the last song, and I just went up instead.
You son of a bitch.
They called for Kevin, and I walked up.
They said we've seen this guy before.
The only dude there in like a fucking pink tie and with shoulder length hair. They definitely knew who I was.
So Corbo, you still got the long hair and the beard too. I bet they were like, "Oh my god!" It's not like you can sneak up there. You're not some unassuming guy. They're like, "Okay, we've seen this guy before. We know exactly who he is."
Well, I toned the beard down.
Okay.
I did have like a half beard. Like I did like a 3 on my beard, and then up until that point, I had like a 12 for my mustache.
Nice.
So I was heavy stash and like little scruff beard, but for the wedding I just went straight around 3. So.
Well, I'm upset there's not video of this.
Of the songs or of me shaving?
Of both, but mostly the songs.
There are videos of the songs. I've just, for some reason, whenever they get sent to me, they're like super compressed. So I gotta ask my friends to email them to me, and then I'll get you guys the high quality.
I eagerly wait. Kyle, do you have a qualm with
See,
what'd you say?
I'll put it on the timeline for everyone to see.
Yeah, I was gonna say we got to be able to retweet and fave this. Kyle, what do you think about "Umbrella," best pop song of the 21st century?
Do you already know I'm part? No, you already know I'm part of the Navy.
Oh, good. Okay, just making sure. All right, you guys want to talk Knicks?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
That's one small step for man, one some hitters.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the TKW podcast. I'm Matt Spendley, and I'm joined tonight by Kyle Maggio.
What's going on, guys?
And our guy, Anthony Corbo.
I'm my guy, too. I'm all your guy, too. What's up?
You're all ours. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging out, chilling by the window. Can you hear cicadas in the background? Because I have my window open. It's a breezy night.
You're good, bro. You're good.
All right.
So, Corbo, you haven't been on a while. Give us, your Knicks takes. Give us your hottest Knicks takes or what you've been seeing the past, few weeks since you've been on. Fire them off right now. 1 minute. Go.
It's really good. I was on vacation with my cousin a couple of weeks ago. It's the biggest Knicks fan that I know other than myself and all of you folks. But we're fanatics, so that doesn't count. But so we were watching Summer League together, and Lord Almighty, we're impressed by Kevin Knox, but Mitchell Robinson looks like a lottery talent. I feel like we walked away with 2 picks in this draft. I'm really stoked about that. I am a big fan of the Noah Vonleh signing. We can get more into that in a little bit if you like to, but he's a guy I've always liked from afar. And yeah, other than that, I'm happy to finally see Fizz with KP. And once again, I say I was about to say that I'm excited for the season for the first time in a while, but I do this every year. We do this every year.
That's why
we're really excited going in, and then it actually looks pretty damn good until December. And then, it all falls apart after there. But I feel like this year is going to be different because the circumstances don't quite line up with the other years. I don't know. We'll see. Fucking if it's a fire, it's a fire.
The word from Chicago. Straight out the horse's mouth of Anthony Corbo.
That's me.
Yeah, I think we certainly agree with you on all counts there. I think you mentioned Mitchell Robinson and Kevin Knox obviously been exciting. Let's talk Vonleh, though. Kyle. Noah Vonleh, the Knicks signed him to a partially guaranteed deal yesterday, brought him on, another guy on the roster. What was your initial thoughts?
I mean, we were complaining that with the Noah situation kind of being up in the air and KP going down and O'Quinn leaving, and we just felt like there was going to be a lot of, answers at the front court this season. So basically signing a guy who at worst can play 10 to 15 minutes there, I think it's a good move. It's a good insurance kind of thing, and it kind of buys them time to figure out what they want to do with Noah. And I mean, it's sort of the theme. I feel like I don't want to keep saying the same things about all these pickups, but everything's been low risk, high reward. It's a former lottery pick. Isn't he 22 years old?
22. He'll be 23 when the season starts.
So I mean, we pick up another guy.
How old he was.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like he's been in the league longer, but we picked up another guy who was a former lottery pick. Means there's some kind of talent there, and let's just see what we can get out of him this season. I mean, I'm with it. We've been with all these kinds of picks. They've been short, cheap, low risk deals. So this is yet another one that I'm in on. I like it.
He was in Chicago recently, right?
Yes. And at the end of the year. Yep.
Would you like to know what his averages were?
Go ahead, Kyle.
Were they above 5 and 5?
Yes.
They were.
Okay.
They were 6.9 points and 6.9 rebounds per game.
How many minutes?
It was more than 6.9.
How many minutes?
I didn't look.
Yeah, that's nice.
Not as nice as it could be, but it's nice. With Vonleh,
I'm slow because I'm genuinely interested in this, but
the one thing that caught my eye when I was looking up his stats yesterday is in Chicago, because coming out of Indiana, he was a big man that people thought could end up being a three-point shooter, because he took about 1 3 a game at Indiana, and he shot about 50% on those for the year. And up until his time in Chicago, he hadn't shot many threes, but with Chicago, he took about 3 a game. And granted, he only played about 20 games in Chicago, and he only shot 30% on those. But I think if that's a skill he could unlock, that could open up a lot for him. It could potentially give his game a lot more to offer to a young team like the Knicks that's looking for guys to catch on in any way possible.
And to your point, isn't that what we mentioned with Fizdale on some of the previous podcasts? Was that, and it ties in, and that he, worked with Marc Gasol to get him, and up to speed in the modern NBA. He worked with Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh could always shoot a little bit, but they helped him stretch his game out a little bit more, be able to shoot threes, longer twos anyway to fit in with LeBron and Dwayne Wade. So I don't think Noah Vonleh is as talented as those two gentlemen there, but it's not really a stretch if he's shown the ability to do it, has the ability to do it now, that Fizdale could work with him and get him there, at least to be a respectable stretch big. I don't think it's really a reach.
I'm actually kind of frustrated. Like, I'm just not used to it that the Knicks are making moves with their players and linking them up to the coaching staff with decisions that actually make sense here.
Yeah.
Like, instead of trying to make Michael Beasley stretch out to the three-point line for, like, the 8th time in his career.
Well, it's because they've never had a coach they also felt good about that they could, feel like they could bring a young guy in and formulate his game around the coach's style, which who knows with Fizdale, but they clearly have a high level of confidence in him.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these moves, too, kind of just fit the same theme. Like, these are all, guys that I think to some degree are good in the open floor. Like, Vonleh's a guy who theoretically should be able to space things out a little bit, pull you away from the rim. Again, he might not even make the team. It's a partial guarantee. This could just be a training camp deal to see if he hangs on. Mm-hmm. But it's like that kind of deal. Hazonia, they've been, even when Troy Williams was here, it seems like they just want guys who can run, just space things out and run.
That, like, the reason that I really like this signing is because it almost guarantees that at least one of Vonleh or Robinson are going to see minutes from the get. And that's what kind of gets me excited because, like, it's another reason why I'm really happy that Kyle O'Quinn didn't choose to re-sign here. As much as I loved Kyle O'Quinn and I thought he was great for the team culture and everything, and productive as a player in the last few years, but now you still have kind of a gluttonous center rotation with Joakim Noah still being in the mix and everything like that, but it's at least kind of guaranteeing that, like, they're at least going to be able to try both Robinson and Vonleh in spurts, and then when one of them ends up sticking, like you got pretty much to make up for one of them to hit. Somebody's got to hit there.
They'll have chances to play. You're absolutely right if those guys are on the roster, because when you're looking at the big mans, it's Cantor, it's Cornette, and then you have the Robinsons and the Vonlehs, and then it's whatever they decide to do with a Lance Thomas, and if Joakim Noah's around, there's going to be minutes there to go around. I will say, though, I watched some tape on Vonleh, and I forgot that his three-point stroke, really ugly. Like, it's not pretty to look at, which makes me nervous.
I mean, but even if he doesn't, like, I don't feel like, even if, I feel like Cornette should be playing more at the 4 this year. Yeah, if only because I've been saying it from, even last year. I was saying, like, he's got to be the KP fill-in this year until he comes back. Like, I know that Ty shares a similar opinion with me on this, but, like, if he can just be a, like, KP mannequin, that's all I really want to get out of Cornette. Mm-hmm. So I would like to see him a little bit more playing the 4, especially when we do have a couple of centers on the roster now.
Kyle's talked about that too, him playing at the 4, something that he's expanded on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Spoiler for a fight?
Yeah, that's all I was thinking about was my Twitter, the beefs that I was having on Twitter that day with Gibberman. But
that's right. I only caught the beginning of those fights.
It's not at all. I mean, it's not at all a stretch to say he would play the 4. I just his game. Like, it's the same thing we argue about with KP, and then KP plays at the 4. He can absolutely play if need be, and I absolutely think the way Fizdale's done positionless talk this offseason anyway, I think that's going to be something we see implemented.
We'll see what they do with the big men. They're going to have a lot of young guys to give some minutes to, so we'll see. A couple other housekeeping things. The Knicks signed Kadeem Allen today, who was one of the Celtics' two-way players last year. He went to college at Arizona, played with our current two-way player, Alonzo Trier. So that's just another depth guy. He's another guy that Kyle mentioned before. I'd say there's certainly less a chance that he makes the team than Vonleh makes the team, but
certainly.
You never know. And Troy Williams signed with the Pelicans today. Not sure the parameters of the deal, but that came out. I think Knicks fans really need to chill with the Troy Williams stuff. I don't know if either of you guys are like huge Troy Williams fans, and I know it's something we mentioned on this podcast before, but I see a lot of people on Twitter that are, singing his praises, and I get why we liked him as a player, but let's be honest, I said this, he's not a three-point shooter. He hasn't proven that he has any skill above average in the NBA besides playing in transition, which almost all the time he does at a speed that is way beyond his actual skill level. So what do we like about this guy? I just don't get it. I hope he does well. best of luck, but not a guy I'm going to miss from this roster.
I think the problem is that it was who stayed over him that's been the issue. You know, because everybody refers immediately to it should have been Baker. It should have been Baker. It should have been Baker, which I don't disagree with.
Yeah, but these are people who don't look at actual contracts.
Well, yeah, I mean, Troy Williams was non-guaranteed. Now, the fact of the matter is that's not really a problem for the Knicks if they really wanted to cut Ron Baker or waive Ron Baker. You know, that's more of a James Dolan's got to deal with it kind of problem. So I understand that gripe of it, but it's always easier to just cut the non-guaranteed contract, especially if he wasn't going to have a significant role. But it's always easier to just look at Baker or make him the punching bag of it, you know?
I think he was kind of they signed Hazonia, and that kind of did away with Troy Williams' kind of role there, especially with Lance Thomas being on the roster. But my thinking at first and initially was that I didn't understand why they cut him then, because they could have just taken him into training camp like they're signing all these other guys now, and cut him when September comes around or early October. But I think they cut him a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, because he just got signed tonight by the Pelicans. I think it was a make good move for him to be able to find a new team, in the interim before training camp begins. That's possible. Yeah, there's this part of me, because I don't know, he did play well for them last year in the appearances he had. He did play well and had a ton of energy in summer league. That's a guy to me. I mean, especially with the youth movement going on in the team and the new coaching staff and everything. That's a guy you would want to keep with you in training camp. But if the writing's just on the wall that it's going to take a lot for him to make the team, he's already done something for you, I think the make good move is okay.
If I got a wing, I just want him to be able to shoot threes, and I don't think that's asking too much. Troy Williams was basically a non-factor from three. He's never been an above average or even average three-point shooter in his career. If he was a three-point shooter, that's why I think that, you never know with a guy like Dotson what could happen with him. At least we know he can shoot threes. If you're giving me a wing guy that can kind of defend, he can kind of play in transition, he's certainly not a playmaker at all from that position, and he isn't a threat from deep. What's he doing for my team? Nothing.
No, but I do like him in New Orleans. I think he's going to fit really well.
Sure.
Can I
in New York
ask this real quick?
Yes.
Can we just get into this briefly? But legitimately, why is everybody so down on Ron Baker?
Because he stinks.
He stinks.
Kyle, go into this. You've gone into the Ron Baker thing.
He's simply not good. He does nothing. He plays good defense sometimes, and he hustles. That's what it comes down to. He's not.
Well, this is another guy that hasn't been a three-point shooter. His stats from three are terrible.
Yes, I'm not doubting that at all.
So what's he doing for me?
I think his defense gets wildly underrated in a lot of situations.
No, I think it gets wildly overrated.
I think
complete opposite.
All right, I mean that's fair. I'm going to lay on the other side of it. Because I don't think he's like top half of the league or anything, or even I think he's probably in the bottom third of the league. But I think there's significantly worse play. I think that the Knicks have held on to him, and I think the replacements that would come along for him at most points in the summertime, I think would be worse than him, basically.
I don't know. They also held on to Isaiah Hicks for seemingly no reason, so that's not.
This is true. We can all get on the same page with that.
That's a two-way deal, so that's basically nothing. It's the money doesn't matter for that one. I think that the Ron Baker, he's still under contract. I know we can say that Dolan will just eat the money, but it's still $3 to $4 million you're just flushing down the drain when you could just get rid of a guy in Troy Williams that didn't have any money guaranteed to him. And I'd rather keep Baker than Troy Williams anyways, in a vacuum. I shouldn't say in a vacuum, because under the financial circumstances, it makes sense why they did that. But certainly Baker or Williams are not difference makers in any way.
I have a contractual question. I don't know if either of you guys would know, but I know Ron Baker didn't have a real no trade clause in his contract. He had one of those weird loopholes with the the whole situation.
Yeah, it's not like they handed him a no trade clause. It's the way that the contract is signed. It's that you can't trade him because of the way the contract and the way the CBA works.
I think wasn't it something with the guarantee on it or something like that? Could he be traded this year potentially?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they can, if they wanted to trade him at the trade deadline, but don't quote me on that, because I certainly don't know the parameters of the CBA and all that goes into it. I think that's the case,
and that's kind of why I think that having his $5 million still sitting on the books makes it makes him worthwhile to keep around, because I think he could be, not a piece in a trade that gets anyone excited, but as far as salary filler goes, that could help you get to a certain way. I don't know, what kind of trade would come along.
And I have no idea on that one, so please don't quote me. Look that up for yourselves because I didn't look into that, so I am certainly not 100% sure on that one. But it's at the fringes of the roster. We talked about this in a couple episodes before. These are the guys that we can debate about forever, but they're just not going to play that much.
It's like a tradition. Remember when everyone was outraged over Maurice Endor?
Yes. Endor. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I was pissed about that. I was like,
this is outraged.
I was like, this is of course the fringe guy. And then I remember Amin Al Hassan said that he was going to be a guy who people were going to really start talking about as a solid bench piece. He's just like,
I would have put any amount of money on Amin not knowing who he was.
No, but he's just like, that's not a 15th man. He's like, you guys are gonna see that's like a real 7/8 man on a good team. And I was like, oh, okay, now I'm really all the way in. And then they didn't sign him, and everyone was really mad. But then he came back 2 years later.
Yeah, they gave him a try twice and he didn't work out.
Yeah, because the Mavs signed him after that summer league, and then the Knicks brought him back, and he was not impressive, to put it
Speaking
kindly.
of great two-time Knicks, I just had some flashbacks of Ronaldo Balkman in there.
Oh my God. I have a story. When the Knicks drafted Ronaldo Balkman, it was 2006, I believe, and they had their first-round pick, and I can remember vividly. My house lost power that night, and I was really excited. I'm going to look this guy's name up just to make sure I don't say something stupid, but I was really excited for the draft because it was one of my younger years getting into the Knicks, and it was, just like an exciting time.
I think it was 08.
Was it 08?
I think he might have been the 08 draft. I could be wrong about that. He might have been 06, actually.
I'm going to look it up. I might be mixing up my drafts, but let's see. It's bad radio. I can't believe he came back. It was one of the funniest things. It was, for the jokes, it was good enough when he came back to the Knicks that year. Yeah, it was 06, and he was drafted 20th overall, and you just remember people, I was listening on the radio, and you could just remember people saying, we didn't think this guy was even going to be a second-round pick. And then they took him in the first round. It was hysterical.
Well, all that karma came back to us with Mitchell Robinson. So.
Yeah, no, it's true. I got my drafts mixed up because I was thinking the year before, the 2005 draft, I think is when the Knicks took David Lee, which obviously worked out really well. But I really like this guy, Salim Stoudemire, that played at Arizona.
Oh, shit. He just played in – I just saw him at the Big 3 game.
Oh, he played in the Big 3?
Yeah.
Dude, I love that guy. It's awesome.
Yeah, you had Salim Stoudemire and Amar'e Stoudemire playing in that game.
Bro, I was watching Amar'e play the other day. He was kind of cooking up. Like, he's still athletic as hell.
He couldn't buy a fucking basket when I saw him. Like, he was who was stopping him? It was Deshaun Stevenson.
Oh, my God.
And I'm going to remember the name. It was another wing who was just, like, locking him down the entire time. But, yeah, no, he was trying. He was posting up. He was, getting his, very fast back to the basket. He still kind of has that. But, every shot he was putting up was rimming out very hard. Stressful. United Center has tight rims. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, and then in his post-game conference, which is one of the coolest things I've seen because he had it was Amar'e Stoudemire, Nate Robinson, and Dr. J sitting on the same podium together. But Amar'e said he guarantees he'll be back in the NBA next year.
Yeah, give me a break.
Take that.
Guarantees going to be back in the NBA next year. Ronaldo Balkman. You know what else isn't happening? Anything else on the Knicks before we move on to our uniform rankings? Anything else, Kyle?
No, I think that's about it.
All right, so let's get into it. We're going to go down. So I mentioned basically what we got on tap for you guys over the next several weeks. Not every uniform number, obviously, is used, so it's not going to take us as long as it would seem. But throughout the summer, we're going to go through every uniform number worn by a Knick in history and kind of give you guys options. So on the Google Forms that you guys so kindly filled out, thank you to all that did. Anyone who didn't, next time we're going to have these coming back, so do it next week, please. We'll be tweeting it from the podcast account. If you haven't followed us on at TKW Podcast on Twitter, please do so. We'll be tweeting these out. Our idea is just to anoint the best Knick for every uniform number. So this week we got 0 through 9 since we're starting out. Ennis Cantor, officially 00. He's the only 00 to ever wear it for the Knicks, so he's good to go. Didn't even need a vote.
Hey, by the way,
yes.
Before we get too off track, I wanted to say the other guy who was locking up Amar'e was Josh Childress.
Holy shit.
Josh Childress.
Dude, you're talking to me two guards right now, like guard/small forwards that are locking up Amar'e Stoudemire. This is sad.
They're all going to be in the league next year. Deshaun, too. Anyway.
I want some odds on that. I want some odds on Amar'e Stoudemire being in the NBA next year. Like 25-1.
Well, you're wrong often, so.
You think? You think I'm going to be wrong on this one, Kyle? Do you disagree with me? You think Amar'e's going to be in the NBA next year?
I can neither confirm nor deny.
I rest my
You
case.
can find a sports book that says that.
I was just in Atlantic City. I should have asked. If they had that. That would be wild if they had that one. I'll have them make it for me. I'll just be like, listen, you don't understand. I have this podcast, and we had this this running kind of joke about Amar'e. Like, you got to hook me up, man. You got to do it.
I really wish that you were interested in this when I was at the actual game. I would have asked him what he thinks his odds are on him being in the NBA next year.
2 to 10.
No, he would have been like, security, throw this motherfucker out.
All right, so let's go right down. I don't really want to debate the ones that are pretty obvious, so I'm going to go 0 to 9 in order. If they're easy, we'll just talk about them a little bit. And then if they were more contentious, we'll go through every option and talk about who we decided to choose. So, 0-0, as I said, Enes Kanter, current New York Knick, current corniest motherfucker in New York City. Actually, no, Ron Baker's challenging him for that one. So, number 0. Okay, this one, it was really sad, I gotta say. So
this one is crazy. This might be I wish we went 9 through 0 because this might be the craziest one on the entire list.
So to get a peek behind the curtain when I was doing this, I basically went through on Basketball Reference and I just looked up. I gave 5 options for every uniform number. So I looked up everyone and then I said, okay, who do I think are the best 5 options that people would want to choose from? 0 didn't have many options. So the 5 options for 0 are Larry Hughes, Chris Smith, Earl Clark, Shane Larkin, and Troy Williams. So 3 of those 5 played less than 1 full season in New York. And the other 2, I think, played 1 or 2 full seasons in New York. So who did you guys have for this one?
This was easy.
The GOAT, man.
This is Larry Hughes.
Is Larry
This
Hughes
is
in the
Chris
Big
Smith,
Three?
without a doubt.
Oh, you watch your tongue.
No, Larry Hughes isn't in the Big Three.
It seems like he
Although,
would be.
There's like a 75%, no, greater than. There's like an 85% chance any one of these players on this list could end up in the Big Three within the next 2 years or whenever.
Chris Smith isn't good enough for the Big Three. He's not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree with you, but last year he would have fucking killed it. Anyway.
Yeah. So
So with these rankings, the one thing that it's killing me. Do we want to go into like percentages that people voted on this one?
Yeah, I could go in. So Larry Hughes was the winner, 46% of the vote. 18% voted for both Shane Larkin and Troy Williams, and then you had about 9% for Chris Smith and Earl Clark. So there was a clear pecking order. Larry Hughes was the clear number 1 here.
Okay, real quick. The recency bias with Troy Williams right here is insane to me.
Yeah,
who are you voting over? Like, it doesn't matter.
Than Troy Williams did.
No, I mean, my criteria for this was you had to have played a season. So that immediately was Shane Larkin, technically Chris Smith, and Larry Hughes. And I was like, well, then you had to actually play. So then that was, Shane Larkin and Larry Hughes. And Shane Larkin just did not do anything of significance in a terrible year, whereas Larry Hughes at least gave you like almost 12 points in a terrible year. So I'm going to take Larry Hughes.
It is Larry Hughes without any doubt.
People forget Shane Larkin has small hands. People are not talking about this.
People are not talking about this. Shane Larkin has tiny hands.
All right, let's go into number 0. We all agree, Larry Hughes, and the listeners agree as well. Number 1, the overwhelming winner was
crazy.
Our aforementioned buddy Amar'e Stoudemire, who I also voted for. Did you guys disagree?
I don't disagree, but I think that I can't believe he got like an 81% vote.
I just want to know the one person that voted for Chris Duhon. One person voted for Chris Duhon out of 100, some odd responses. So good for you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, he was far and away. I mean, even though he wasn't his best, pretty much after the 2011 season, he was injury marred or just ill-fitting with Melo after that. Whereas Melo
we're still talking about Chris Duhon.
No. I was like, dude, I don't think you play with Melo.
No, Chris Duhon. I wouldn't disrespect the god like that. I mean, he's got the assist record.
Yeah, he's an all-time Knicks record, never be broken.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's wild. It's Chris fucking Duhon. But no, I mean, Amar'e he's far and away the most talented one. He actually was pretty damn good for a few years, and then he just couldn't get healthy, didn't fit with Melo, but that's better than Steve fucking Francis and Chris Duhon. I mean,
I'm actually kind of surprised Steve Francis didn't get more votes.
I mean, what did Chris Childs get?
13%. It was basically Amar'e and Chris Childs, and then there were some scraps for Mo Cheek, Steve Francis, and Chris Duhon.
And I would guarantee you that 12.99% of that 13% was simply because he punched Kobe Bryant in the face.
And those are all deserved votes.
Yes.
So, quick thing on Amar'e, because I love Amar'e. I know we were joking before about him, but he's one of my favorite Knicks ever, just because it was at a really impressionable time in my Knicks fandom. When he came to the Knicks, I was 15 years old, just really getting into the NBA, where I felt like I could know a lot about it, and it meant a lot for him to come here.
Young.
I know, man. I'm sorry, but it meant a lot.
I forget how young you guys are sometimes, but continue.
It's funny to think about. It is because you're like.
I'm curious. Maybe you're the only one who saw Mo Cheeks play, because I was about to ask. I wonder how many of our listeners have actually know what Mo Cheeks looked like on the court. But I think it's only Kyle at this point.
Kyle's fuming right now.
I was 2 of the last game he played. Son of a bitch.
All right, so like I said, as much as I joke about Amar'e, one of my favorite Knicks of all time, and that year, the first year before Melo came, the first half year was just magical. So let's move on to number 2. Another fairly overwhelming win. This one also made sense. So number 2, LJ, Grandmama Larry Johnson, 82% of the vote. Assuming you guys also had LJ.
I had Larry Johnson, yep.
Believe I did. Yeah, I think I did.
These ones are...
Who the fuck is Rory Sparrow?
He played on the Knicks. He actually put up some better numbers than you'd think. I think he was an 80s guy. Yeah, he played on the Knicks. He was like 10 points a game. Someone older than me would be able to tell you more about him, but he was a point guard.
That's kind of like the question that's been rolling around my head that Bailey proposed on Twitter a couple of days ago about who's going to be the player from this generation that will be the most forgotten.
That was a great question. It got some good engagement. It had me thinking a lot.
It's still rolling around my head, but anyway.
All I can ever think about with that question is Joe Johnson.
I was just going to say Joe Johnson, Kyle. That's exactly who I was going to say. I don't know if I didn't see anyone else on Twitter say that. I'm sure they did, but that's the first guy that came to mind.
He had the quietest, most productive career. And you're never going to... When you think back at this era, you'll never, ever remember Joe Johnson. Ever. And then you'll see him casually in a highlight, scoring 21 points in a playoff game for the Jazz when he's 43. And then you'll be like, wow, Joe Johnson used to get buckets. I remember that. Mm-hmm. And then you'll never remember again after that.
I was playing 2K with my brother over the weekend, and we were doing the all-time teams and everything. And I was playing as the Hawks, and I didn't even realize that I was scoring with Joe Johnson until probably the second quarter. And I was like, yeah, that's right. Joe Johnson had all these phenomenal years with the Atlanta Hawks that I've completely forgotten about already.
I remember being livid when he went to the Nets. I was furious because I was like, shit, they shouldn't be getting good players. They've always been bad since the Knicks, in the late 2000s, early 2010s. All right, so number 2, Larry Johnson. Yeah. Again, not very contentious. Number 3, John Starks, 83% of the vote. Another big
I don't think I voted for John Starks. I'm trying to remember who I
did. You vote for Steph?
Yeah,
Stephon Marbury?
I voted for Stephon.
All right, give me the takes, because I'm here for that.
I had 6 pairs of starters, I believe.
All right,
I had 2 pairs. They were the best things that my young eyes had ever seen in my life.
Stephen Barry's forever.
Yeah, my take that I'm going to get yelled at tomorrow, and I'm just sort of prepared for it, was that despite the era, despite the romanticizing that we do for the 90s and for all the players that played, especially because we celebrate the Starks dunk like it's a national holiday.
God.
I think quite simply, Stephon Marbury was very easily a better basketball player individually than John Starks was. Just do.
And just this is a fact. The career arc of Stephon Marbury, and going to China and being the most revered basketball player in Chinese basketball history. I don't. It's just. I know it's supposed to be for who's the better player, but man, the Stephon Marbury storyline, even if it flamed out in New York and everyone hated him by the end, it's just so fascinating.
And let's just make sure that we're asking the question correctly. This is for the best Knick. Stephon Marbury, probably a better basketball player, but was he a better Knick? Was he better on the Knicks than John Starks
probably
was?
wins that because Marbury really didn't have many great Knicks moments. But at the same time, like, I feel like I can't fault him like for that because it was, it was 2000. What year did he come to the team? Was it like 02?
No, a little later.
He played he was on the 04 playoff team,
he was
05 or whatever
03,
that was, but 03, 04, yeah. So, but I think that he also, John Starks was great for the Knicks and everything. I think Marbury in his time might have done more for New York.
Oh, stop! That's absurdity.
I mean,
that's blasphemous.
I don't agree with that.
Look, it's recency bias. I just mean the thing, especially, I know it's all making money and everything, but he responded with a lot of. I was a kid at the time, and I responded a lot with Stephon Marbury.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing was because we know how it ended and we know when it started to unravel. I mean, when he first got here, he was pretty much a 20-10 guy, right about there, and things didn't really transpire for him the way that he or any of us hoped. So, I mean, I'm not going to really sit here and go argue tooth and nail that he's a better Knick than Starks was. I kind of wanted to be contrarian because I feel like people sleep on what Marbury actually was.
I'm just so sick of the John Starks shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I'll be honest with you. And I love John Starks. I have his jersey. He's one of my favorite players in Knicks history. He's that for everybody, but at the same time, I
have a jersey too. Yeah.
At the same time, I don't know. You're right. It's too much.
Hey, shouts to that one troll that voted for Jose Calderon too.
One person. Yep, I was impressed. It's got to be the same
people.
They
weren't serious.
They were
completely trolling us.
Keith Van Horn, someone voted for number 2.
I will say this for Keith Van Horn. He was fucking nasty in 2K. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Oh, yeah.
He was fucking filthy.
You need guys like that in 2K.
Well, because it was like having a guy in today's NBA in 2K. He could fucking shoot, and then he was long as hell. And he would just... I don't know why this is before 2K, I think, was super realistic, but you could just fucking throw down with anybody. So Keith Van Horn would throw down just on anybody and anything. But, we can move on to number 4.
Yep, so number 4. All right, this one is blasphemous, guys. Come on. Do better.
No, this is easy.
So, number 4, in an overwhelming majority, 80% of the vote, Nate Robinson.
Howard Isley.
No, that's the wrong answer. It's Carl Braun, and it's not close. Carl Braun, 5-time All-Star, played on the Knicks in the 50s. I get it. It's not not a trendy era by any means, but he's objectively one of the most well-known and greatest Knicks of all time for people that come from an earlier era, and it's not close. To put Nate Robinson here is just, it's hilarious. And Nate was, sure, he was fine, and he had 2 or 3 highlight-worthy moments as a Knick, and they all came in the dunk contest, and the last one was him throwing the ball in the wrong hoop, which led to him promptly being shipped out of New York. So, who do you guys have for this one?
I Nate Robinson until the day I die, man. I fucking love that guy.
It was Nate Robinson. It was Nate Robinson.
He won 3 slam dunk contests. I know that doesn't mean anything for performance for the team, but that means something as far as being a Knick right?
Sure, but that's not emblematic of New York. It's just that he won it, and it was a cool moment. But people that are coming up now in the NBA wouldn't know that. It's not something that, I don't know.
Yeah, but people coming up now in the NBA aren't going to know who Carl Braun is.
That's fair. But if you're talking, I'm talking Knicks here. We need to keep this in the Knicks perspective.
Yeah,
sure. I agree with you. And I mean, as far as the team is concerned, if you're getting into the NBA and you're from New York and you're a kid and you want to be a Knicks fan, right? And you hop on YouTube. What's the first thing you do? It's going to be you're going to hop on YouTube. You're going to look at some highlights. You're going to see those Nate Robinson dunk contests. You're going to see some gameplay of Nate. You're probably going to see him throwing into the wrong basket, sure. But if you're a kid coming up right now and want to be a Knicks fan, you start seeing that, you're going to be enamored.
Are you insinuating that Carl Braun's game was not sexy and you didn't go out of your way to watch it because of his sheer athleticism?
He dribbled like a Republican.
I'm as attracted to Carl Braun as anyone, but...
No, look, it's Nate Robinson. It's Nate Robinson if for no other reason than for the same reasons that you're disservicing him, okay, sir? He gave us entertainment in a dark, dark time. Do you recall the time when he stole the ball out of Yao Ming's hands? Wasn't it a block?
He blocked him, yes, and then he hit Yao Ming in the face, proceeded to poke him in the eye, and Yao Ming couldn't even run down the floor afterwards. A great moment.
Yep. Yep.
That man is a New Yorker through and through. I don't want to hear it.
He was incredibly entertaining in a dark, dark time. Then you throw in the 3 dunk contest. He was the only entertaining thing that we had going for us. And it was just the weirdest Knicks era. So
NBA TV was just airing every dunk contest.
And on top of that, their stats are comparable. And this is with Nate playing against actual basketball players and not mechanics and part-time plumbers.
Oh, so, by the way, one of those mechanics and plumbers. So please.
Hey, by the way, real quick, I'm actually kind of disappointed with you, Matt, because I don't see James White anywhere on here.
Yeah, that's because James White was dead to all Knicks fans the second he talked up his dunking and then went in a dunk contest and laid a freaking egg.
I just watched that dunk contest. I watched it. I watched it 2 days ago, and it was fucking hilarious.
He came out with so many women.
So funny.
So many women.
All in the same outfit.
And just...
Oh, yeah, the fucking...
it was a mess.
Stewardess.
All right, you guys are wrong. You're millennials. It's embarrassing. Let's move on.
Yeah, wait, now you're older than us?
Yeah. That's how it's going here. You're millennials. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, well, let's move on to Jason Kidd
Hope
then.
you enjoy your avocados. So number 5, Jason Kidd won with 62% of the vote. So this one was a little tighter. Just for reference, the other ones we're looking at here are Courtney Lee, Dick Van Arsdale, Tim Thomas, and Bill Walker. So not the greatest crop. Dick Van Arsdale is another older guy that had some good years for the Knicks way, way, way back. So who'd you guys have for this one?
Hank Walker.
Oh, my God. All right, Corbo, listen, it's been fun. You got to quit the podcast. You're not allowed back.
I mean, like, this isn't a good one, first of all. It's actually probably Courtney Lee. If we're going to be real here.
It is actually probably Courtney Lee. I was hoping Matt put Tim Hardaway Jr. twice.
No.
Oh, that would be good.
I didn't.
I think it's got to be like, I mean, because what did Jason Kidd, like, I know that he had a heavy hand in that 2013 season, but he flamed out once the playoffs came around. Let's not forget.
Oh, he was terrible. He was unplayable. They also benched him late in the year.
It was, and it was like, you talk about guys going on the downward slopes in their career. It's like Jason Kidd accidentally wandered onto like a triple black diamond ski lift and then got to the top there in that last year with the Knicks and then just went straight downhill.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Yeah, like, I mean, I get that he's a bigger name, but as we've been talking about the whole pod, this is supposed to be, who is the best Knick, and Jason Kidd's, 2/3 of a year as a good Knick does not compare to what Courtney Lee's done the last couple of years. He's a team captain at this point.
I mean, I'm sort of gonna oppose you for just a really tiny reason, and it's just because Jason Kidd, for all intents and purposes, was what we were whining. He did things that we whined that we weren't going to get when we amnestied Chauncey Billups, and then because of that, Melo had his best year ever in the league, and because of that, we won 54 games, and we're able to get into position to not just get in the playoffs, but also advance in the playoffs for the first time in a decade. So
yeah, I see.
So which and I get the longevity because that was one of my things earlier in this little exercise, but just because that was the most important season that we've had in the last 15 years, I gave Kidd the nod. Not necessarily because he was the best, but because he played a pretty good role in the offensive scheme that got us the season.
The thing is, like, I think that I attribute less of that success to Jason Kidd than you do.
I don't want to make it sound like he's got the lion's share or even a significant portion of it, but
it was just a perfect storm, in my opinion. Like, everything kind of came through. Like, Woodson had been there a little while at that point where he was able to, know what he could get from the players. Melo bought in for once. You had fucking Rashid spreading his magic on the team for 30 games or whatever it was. Like,
the correct answer is Courtney. It is,
but the correct answer has got to be Courtney Lee.
But mostly, I just think it's closer just because of the significance of that season. But
when Courtney Lee is finally traded off the team, we're gonna look back, and I think that the people who, actual Knicks fans, I would say, like more in-depth Knicks fans, guys who have watched the team, very staunchly in the last couple of years as they've been losing and everything like that, like, just to recognize the effort and the never waning enthusiasm he had for hitting the court and everything, despite the losing record and everything. You never hear anything from, Courtney Lee being upset about the team. And the fact that he's in his 30s and he still has played as well as he has, like, he's been in the league forever. And he's finally found a place to call home with the Knicks. And I think that, he's not up against a lot of competition here, but, man, I think he has outdone all of them.
So no Tim Thomas love, huh?
No Tim Thomas love for me, unfortunately.
I actually really like Tim
Hank
Thomas.
Walker.
I liked him too. Because when I think he wore 5 his first time with the Knicks, and I remember as a 8 or 9-year-old kid thinking it was cool that they had 2 Thomases on the team because it was him and Kurt Thomas.
Yes.
And I thought that was cool. And that was like all I remember about Tim Thomas. He also had some like just good years on some random teams. Like he played on Steve Nash's Suns team and I think he hit like a huge shot in the playoffs if I'm remembering correctly. But this one's tough. There's not a lot of great options.
Lukewarm take, Kurt Thomas is the best Knick of all time.
I mean, spot the lie. That game in Utah in 2013. The best Knicks game of the last 10 years.
Best time of my life.
Really fun.
All right, let's move on. Number 6, I don't want to spend time on this because it was Kristaps, 92%. Although it did make me remember how much I loved Tyson Chandler.
Yeah, I'm glad he came in at least, even if it's a distant second. I'm glad he got second.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think? Like 3 people voted for him?
He got 6 votes.
6 votes. Okay,
Yeah,
look at that.
So let's talk about 7 because this was the most overwhelming majority.
Wow, no love for Al Harrington at all?
No love for Al Harrington. I have an Al Harrington jersey, so I'm a little offended that not a single person voted for him. But
was that your first jersey?
No, I had a Stephon Marbury jersey actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You
Carmelo
hold on
Anthony.
to that Al Harrington jersey. That's fucking crazy.
I still wear it sometimes because I think it's funny and it's big, so it still fits me. I think my first
I would come up to
overall
you and
jersey.
shake your hand if I saw you wearing that.
I think my first overall jersey, I had a Statue of Liberty, like youth small Rangers jersey with Eric Lindros on it. That was awesome. I love that
That's
jersey.
a good jersey.
So number 7 for the Knicks, though. Melo, 95% of the vote. It's been almost... I don't want to get too far into this because we only have a few minutes left and we got 2 numbers left, but it's been a little strange to see the Melo slander on Twitter after 1 year. People forget how good he was for the Knicks. People often he's the butt of a lot of jokes now because of his OKC campaign last year, and I was always a big Melo fan. I know I like to make fun of our colleague Bailey Carlin a lot for being a big Melo stan, but
The Stan.
the 2012-13 year is one of the best Knicks seasons in the history of the franchise. He did all that he could for New York, and I felt bad when he left. He signed the contract, I get it, but it's a little sad to see what his market has become, and some of it is self-inflicted because he's been unwilling to accept a certain role. I really hope he does better this year. So it's just been a little strange to see, and I guess a little disheartening.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say on it is we need to stop doing this ridiculous thing where we pretend he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't think anyone smart thinks that way because it's the same thing with Dwight Howard. Like he's a clear first ballot Hall of Famer too.
Well, here's the thing: is people weren't outright not saying it, but they would say things like,
"Are we sure?"
I could see him getting in. Like that's not like if you're sort of being passive about, I guess he could get in. Like maybe he's in. If you're considering
wrong.
that or you're having the question, like you're wrong. He's a lock. And the thing is, people, me, I bring up that the Hall of Fame standards aren't really wild for him to be a first ballot, which is true. I think even if they were stricter, he'd still be first ballot. Like he's going to end up being a top 10 to 15 scorer of all time. I did the math. So let's say he plays all 82 games this year and he averages, I think it was 15 points, which is less than when he averaged last year in OKC. He would be, I think, at 10 or just about. He needs 27 or 2,800 points to get into the top 10. So if he just averages 15 points for the next 2 years, he's basically in. So people have to really consider that. Like if you're a top 10 scorer or contributor in a significant category like that in almost any sport, you're going to get in no matter what. So I think people are trying to do the trendy overthinking and, really flesh out his flaws a little bit more than they need to be. The unnecessary comparisons to people in his draft class. Like, the guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Just, it's enough already. And the other thing, too, is he doesn't even suck. Like, in terms of sucking.
He doesn't
He's 35 years old. He's entering his 16th year. Everybody sucks. when they're 35 years old and you're 16. LeBron's an outlier. You can't use him. Wade's looked awful the last 2 years. Like, this is just what happens to everybody. So trying to pretend that this is just Melo sucking is also ridiculous. So
two
go ahead.
really quick things I want to say. One, the Melo decline and like the battle of the Melo realists versus the Melo stands. The one really, really good outcome of this is how many young Melo videos have been floating around Twitter these days. Like, that is a treat all in itself, and I'm really stoked to. I stop and watch them every single time. The only other thing I want to say about this is that I didn't really vote for him because I knew my vote wasn't really going to matter in these responses, but I just gave Kenny Walker my click because shout out to Kenny Skywalker.
Another dunk contest. I guess Corbo puts a lot of stock in the dunk contest, huh?
No, like I know it's Melo, and I didn't really vote for him, but
yeah,
that's such a fucking Corbo vote. That's such a Corbo vote.
We'll move on to number 8, but the Melo left-handed pass in Denver to Nene is one of my favorite basketball highlights of all time. I was loving that comes back on the TL.
You know what's really fun that I saw for the first time actually was the 2003 rookie game, and the beautiful Melo alley-oop to LeBron.
Yep. Dude.
Oh, that's unstoppable.
That's awesome.
That's unbeatable.
That Melo and that Melo to Nene pass is one of those plays that you have like that really tight highlight reel in your head of those plays that are just ingrained. Like you could actually see them over and over again.
Yes.
No matter what, perfectly clear recall. They just come back into your brain. That's one of them because that's one of those few plays that happen. And there's tons of amazing plays, but that's one of those amazing plays that has the exact perfect timing for everything that's happening.
It was rare, but anytime Nuggets Melo chose to pass was just insane.
And with the left hand, no less.
And no less with the left hand. All right, do we need to move on?
Yeah.
Number 9.
Number 8.
No, we're on 8.
Oh, we're on 8.
So let's go through these last
buddy.
two ones fairly quickly because I think 8 has more of a debate than 9. But yes. Number 8, about 70% of the vote went to Latrell Sprewell, and the other 22% went to J.R. Smith. So I'm curious. Let's start with you, Corbo. Who did you have?
I believe I went J.R. Smith.
Okay.
I thought that J.R. Smith... Okay, no, go ahead. Kyle, go first, and we'll debate.
I really didn't want to answer this one. I'll be honest. I really simply did. I think
know how hard this is for you.
I chose Latrell. I did.
Okay.
But it was really difficult because I do this for Melo too, for that time period with the Knicks, but JR was I don't think he was better than Latrell, but he was very underappreciated for how important he was while he was in New York. And he had, obviously, as it comes back to for anyone who played during this time period, that 2012-13 year was really special. He was sixth man of the year. And not just sixth man, he was also just the second most important scorer on that team, which is why we didn't win the the Indiana series. So when he went cold. But right. I think Latrell was more important at that time. Obviously, he played on a finals team for the Knicks. But yeah, I think JR is a little underappreciated. I understand why the poll is the way that it is. I thought that was going to be a little bit closer.
I think JR had his best years of his career in New York. And again, this isn't really the question, but I don't necessarily know if Latrell had his best years in New York. It's hard to tell. He was kind of, he didn't play poorly. And again, he made it to the finals and he had to team up with Allen Houston, who played a very similar role to him. But as far as the reason I think I gave it to JR was because I know they both have bombastic personalities, so that kind of takes it out of the question. But how badly the New York Knicks needed revitalization when JR came around was kind of what sent it over, and just the fact that he was able to win Sixth Man of the Year and he was able to play the best basketball of his career, in New York and everything, and just the way he came in, like a spark plug, and the whole JR and Novak combo and everything like that, it just set the city on fire, man. And Latrell played in the the '99 finals and everything, but everything after that with his career with the Knicks just went downhill from there. So I know that JR, has always been controversial in his career, and he's certainly not playing good basketball now. But for the years that he was here, again, he's another guy whose one play is never going to get out of my mind, and it's the double alley-oop thing he did with Shumpert that one time.
That was cool.
That was beautiful.
Spree's the answer, but I like the JR angle too. I think that JR had some great moments. I went to Game 2 when they played the Celtics in the 2013 playoffs, and this was the game where they gave JR his 6th Man of the Year award. It was louder when he got that than it was during any moment in the entire game, besides JR hitting the half-court 3 at the end of the first quarter, and the Garden just went ballistic. But when he was good, that year he was damn good. But even so, he averaged 18.5 points. Spree averaged that basically for his entire Knicks career, which spanned a bit longer, and he was on more successful teams. Spree's the answer, but I think
Spree's
JR is not a bad answer at all, and I think we kind of can forget sometimes. And got to remember, too, having JR on the Knicks was just so funny at times. He gets to the Knicks, the first thing he does is tweet a picture of a bare naked ass.
Terry.
So it was both of these guys, as Corbo mentioned, bombastic personalities to be sure, and they brought a lot to the table beyond the court.
It was the Beasley of 2012-13. If Beasley was a significant contributor,
number
better
8, man. Like every one of these guys.
Every one of these guys.
Let's talk real quick. We'll move on, but I'm just kind of appalled that Gallinari got this little amount of love from everybody.
It was just too short.
Yeah,
it was too. He was there. What, 2.5 years?
Drafted him 08. He left 2010.
Yeah, so I mean, he was 2.5 years. And
he was electric, man.
I mean, he was electric, but he was inconsistent. He would give us these flashes
and young,
and then he was injured. I mean, it just didn't. And you guys know I'm a Gallo stan. I love Gallo. I wish nothing more in that Melo trade that they couldn't. They should have kept one of Wilson Chandler, Danilo Gallinari. Both of them leaving was a travesty. But yeah, I mean, I've
2010 was just such a fun year.
It just stinks.
Like God, fucking like October of 2012 to like January of 2011 was just one of the best, couple of month spans of my life.
All right, let's move on to our final number in this week's series, and that's number 9. This one was funny, too, because you have a Carl Braun type in Richie Guerin, who is obviously the answer, but...
Yes, but...
People voted, 42% of the total vote went to Pablo Prigioni, and 29% went to Kyle O'Quinn, with Richie Guerin getting 19. So you split this one up a bit. Who did you guys have?
Pablo.
I thought Kyle was the actual better player, but I thought...
He was obviously better than Prigioni. Prigioni had some trademarks, like his trademark steal, and we liked rooting for him, but Kyle O'Quinn was much better as a Knick.
Pablo's just kind of become the cult hero. Like, when we think back at those fun teams, it was just like, everybody goes nuts for Pablo.
His stats are, like, remarkably low. Like, he averaged, like, 3 points a game.
Yeah, he didn't... He
averaged, like, 3 and 3.
Yeah.
1-3, get a couple sneaky steals, couple of dimes, then he'd call it a day. But
I think the thing that happened with Pablo, and it kind of speaks to the Jason Kidd thing, like Pablo came in the year after Kidd did, right? After Kidd retired.
They played together.
No, it was the same year.
Yep.
It was the same year?
2012, and then Pablo played with the Knicks the following year, too.
Right. So I think when Pablo finally got that, that larger opportunity when Kidd flamed out, like, that was just, I think that we really kind of, because everyone was so pissed at Jason Kidd at that time, too, for going to coach the Nets and everything like that. And they were, like, worried about collusion, that, like, Pablo comes in, just plays his game, gets his 3 points and 3 assists, like, always seems to be on, the passing side of a highlight play. And I think that, New York Knicks fans really ended up bonding around him. And for whatever reason, maybe it's the fact that he didn't really, he didn't tweet in English. And, I just think that there was no way for him to be unloved by the Knicks fans.
A lovable player through and through. Just
through and through.
And he defined those teams a lot, too. The veteran, late-in 2012-13 Knicks team that had the Jason Kidds and the Prigionis. He's just beloved by Knicks fans. Like, I think Chris Herring posted a Pablo highlight the other day, and people were just like, God, I love this guy. He was the best. His steals were awesome. The inbounds passes. I still have not seen anyone do what he did on those, because players just simply don't care enough to go and put in the effort to defend an inbounder like he did, which is awesome.
He was so smart. Like, he just played really smart until it came time for him to shoot an open 3.
Yep. All right, so let's go down the list, and then we'll close it up here. So, the listener responses: 0, Larry Hughes. Number 1, Amar'e Stoudemire. Number 2, Larry Johnson. Number 3, John Starks. Number 4, Nate Robinson. Number 5, Jason Kidd. Number 6, Kristaps Porzingis. Number 7, Carmelo Anthony. Number 8, Latrell Sprewell. And number 9, Pablo Prigioni. So that's 0 through 9.
I take great exception to less of these than I thought I was going to.
Yes. There's some that are definitely consensus picks, and that's going to happen anytime you have an abbreviated roster like they do in the NBA. But
especially with like these early numbers too.
Exactly.
Like we're going to get to a point where we're not going to have too many to pick from.
Right. All right, so next week, listen up. We'll do 10 through 19 when we come back. So we'll run out the Google Forms next week. Thanks again to everyone that responded. Keep an eye out. We'll be running a bunch more stuff. We got plenty to do through the summer, even when there's not a lot of Knicks basketball going on, not a lot of roster stuff to talk about. We're still going to be here shooting our ear off about the Knicks. So, guys, until next week, Kyle, Corbo, talk to you guys later.
Bye, guys.